Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders to help it grow. It's an all-family affair today. Lance and Delaney. Good to see you, Delaney. Delaney, you are at your library, at your school.
I am. I'm in a private study room.
I love it. We're being very virtual, very remote, very creative these days. Lance, a little bit of news, not a lot, but why is this important? I'll let you say it's important, then we'll ask the question.
Well, I'm not completely certain, Bob. You're going to have to share with me what the CARES module access is.
Well, very good. So we're already off to a great start. Well, let's see who is anybody using it first. Well, we got about a third. And what this is, that effective August 30th, which is obviously the important date, we're transferring over to Guidehouse, and there are a number of applications that are available. The 1502 dashboard will be retired, and there will be new dashboards. It doesn't look like anything major. It just needs to be done, Lance. That's why. That's because if you go into Coleman and use the old one, nothing's going to happen. Let's see, and the three core features of CARES module remain. Number one, debt relief will be tracked, 1112 debt relief payments, the PPP program, as well as lender certification payment instructions. So the notice, when did the notice come out, Joseph? Today?
Yeah, correct. It was this morning.
And came out today, I think, and it is in your dashboard. So take a look at that and have someone in your bank, your authorizing official, go in and make sure that you're up to speed with that. Lance, I don't anticipate, I think from everything I've seen from a distance, it looks like it's going to be pretty smooth. I don't anticipate any problems. Do you, Lance?
Yeah, I don't see any significant issues with it. You know, I was fully aware of the transition, but I didn't know what they were calling it. So now I do.
Now you know. So get the notice, assign it to someone in your institution, and you're ready to rock and roll. The one thing I don't, yeah, it's going to transition as of next week. So that is. So I assume the 1502 reportings that we do in September will be under the new system, correct, Lance?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Poll question number 2. SBA requires you to perform a site visit for dispersed loans every year when the borrower goes 30 days delinquent. The SOP does not address this issue. You must mirror your conventional small business loan policy. Lance, this is for you. It's right up your alley. I gave you an easy one.
Well, Bob, these answers are a little tricky.
I know. Go ahead. I'll let you.
The site visits, the SOP 5057-2 has a couple of times when they indicate you need to do a site visit. One is when a loan, it goes into liquidation status. That triggers the requirement for a site visit within 60 days, but I always tell people you want to do it sooner than that. The other time a site visit is triggered in the 5057-2 is when there's a request for a workout plan. You also want to do a site visit as part of the underwriting. Now, other site visits should mirror your conventional commercial small business loan policy. So if you would normally do an annual site visit on a loan of, say, $500,000 or more on a similar size non-SBA loan, then you need to do it on the SBA loan as well. But there's nothing in the SOP that says you have to do an annual site visit. It just says you need to follow the prudent lending standards, which is doing the same thing you would on a similar size non-SBA loan.
The SOP does not address what it should be in that site visit report, does it, Lance? It just leaves it up to the lender for the format.
There are a few things you can look at, and when I do a training on servicing, I have a few things listed. It doesn't give specifics. I mean, a site visit could be as easy as a memorandum stating I went out to XYZ company on August 27th at 1 o'clock, took a look at the inventory. I mean, it can be as simple as that, or it can be, I always encourage people, write up a good thorough memorandum about the results of the site visit, any interaction with the customer, but there are also third-party forums that do, or third-party companies that do site visits that do a real great job of it. And of course, if you're a nationwide SBA lender, you probably are using that type of service for the site visits, but there's not a specific format.
Pros and cons for video?
I've never included video, but my phone has done quite a few site visit photos.
Photos, okay. Very good. Most of all those answers were correct. And prudently, you should do it annually. And I have in there when the borrower goes 30 days delinquent, which is really 60 days, right, Lance?
Yeah. Effectively, the SOP 5057-2, if you put a loan in liquidation, it triggers the requirement for a site visit.
Yeah, let's go through some of those other ones since we're talking about it. What are the other automatic triggers that you have to do within 15 days?
That's when a SBA loan goes into, you could call it technical default for reasons other than a payment default. Could be a lawsuit, could be bankruptcy, could be you were driving down the street one day and you're like, oh, there's my SBA loan customer, and you're like, oh, it's dark and the doors are locked. Could be a business closing, but any non-payment related default triggers a 15-day time frame for site visits.
How strict is SBA on that 15 days when it comes to looking at guaranteed repurchasing, recommending to?
Bob, the timing of the site visit is very important, because if there's collateral that gets stolen, missing, if there's something that occurs that depletes the collateral value, SBA is highly likely to repair your loan. So, an example, I've told this story before, Bob. I was working an FDIC project in Utah, and I had a sandwich shop that had a SBA loan that had been in default for 9 months. So, and I realized there had not been a site visit. So I hop in the car, run out there with my camera, and I'm snapping pictures of the sandwich shop, and suddenly a police officer shows up to escort me from the premises. What had happened is the original owner had sold all the equipment to somebody else who had opened a new sandwich shop. So,
and you didn't even get lunch.
Yeah, the end result of that is the site visit was not done on time. The only collateral on this loan was the FF&E of the restaurant. It was not a full denial, but it was a significant repair, and primarily because the site visit was not done timely and the collateral was gone.
Yeah, if my advice to you is, let's say you're going through and you realize, we're at 45 days since the trigger, and it's only 15 days. Go out and do that site visit ASAP.
Oh yeah.
Under no circumstances backdate it. Give it the right date. But you could try to defend yourself by saying nothing's occurred the last 30 days, which would jeopardize our collateral position. And that's
well, and I think the thing, if you're managing your portfolio well, you're going to start communicating with the customer when they start approaching 30 days, and if they get beyond 30 days past due, a site visit is an excellent opportunity to engage with the borrower.
The other thing, trigger it. I know there were stories during the Great Recession where lenders would get envelopes full of keys with a note saying, "Go get it. I'm out of business."
Oh yeah, that's your 15-day site visit. But in my case, that's my 15-minute site visit. I've got to go.
Since we're talking about servicing, SBA requires an updated personal financial statement. And I wanted to go personal financial statement because I think all of us prudently ask for tax returns and we ask for financial statements for the company. But how often do we also go after the guarantors and get their financial statements? Annually, 67%, 25% mirror your conventional business policy, which can never be a wrong answer. And SBA doesn't address this in the SOP. Well, and that's technically correct. They don't.
And the 24% group, well, most financial institutions get them annually, Bob, because that mirrors the conventional small
Right.
business loan policy they have. So those are both the right answers, and SBA doesn't specifically state how often you're supposed to get a PFS.
Yeah. How often how many requests do you do until you finally just put a memo in the file and say, hey, we're not getting it. We've tried 4 times and we're giving up.
Generally 3, Bob.
And then do you do anything else? Do you just let it go until next year? I mean, there's nothing really you can do. You're not going to call the loan.
Yeah, we'll send 2 or 3 requests, make a couple of phone calls, make a good effort to get it. And a lot of it depends on the size of the loan, Bob.
Thank you.
You know, if you have a $50,000 loan and your borrower's not complying with the request,
And the
you
loan's
put a memo in the file and move on down the road. If you've got a $5 million loan, you're going to make more effort to get that.
Delaney, let's hear from you. You've been awfully quiet this week. How's your first week in school?
It has been great. I'm very glad to be back in. I love to learn, so.
Well, what happened here? This is a sad case. Tell us about it.
It is a really sad case. So there was a woman, and she was a former bank branch manager somewhere in Indiana. So first off, she was withdrawing money from her customers' accounts. Now, Dad, you're going to have to help me out. I forgot the exact term. It's
Certificates of deposit.
Yes, the certificate of deposit accounts. She would forge her electronic signatures, and then with the power she held as a bank branch manager, she would approve the withdrawals. I think she managed to get about $180,000. Now, it only gets worse from here. In 2015, one of her close friends died, and she became the trustee of the 3 children's trust accounts. They all had over $50,000 in them, and she was using them on unauthorized purchases. She would send fake financial statements saying that there was thousands of dollars when in reality all of these accounts had 0. It's quite a sad thing to hear.
Do we know what the sentence was, Delaney?
I believe it was only 3 years, interesting enough.
3 years. That's a lot for that.
Yeah.
Is it? I know she has to pay back $315,000, I believe.
Yeah. And that's, and again, bankers have in a level of trust, they're viewed as being ethical, and you hate to see these stories, but again, it's the old line, trust but verify.
Absolutely.
You know, let's make sure everything's. Now, I'm sure the bank reimbursed the trust accounts on this, but there's a lot of situations where that does not happen. What happened to Mr. Mohan?
So he is a former executive at Amazon and Microsoft. So he decided to acquire a business in May of 2020.
Smartest guy in the room. Go ahead.
So he applied for 8 PPP loans and EIDL loans. He managed to get 5 approved for almost $2 million. He was applying for $5.5 million to begin with. He was using fake tax filings, altered incorporation documents, just lots of fake and altered documents. He also claimed he had dozens of employees. He didn't have any. Couple $1 million payroll. Of course, no employees. So he ended up being sentenced 2 years. That's the
Lamborghini. What did he spend the money on?
You know, I actually was not able to find that. I probably needed to look a little bit more, but I think just some money was seized from accounts.
Lance, I think it was your institution that refused to process PPP loans unless they had an existing relationship. Was that PPP1 or PPP2?
Of course, that's not where I'm at right now,
I
but
know.
in previous posts, the bank would only process a loan for you if you were an existing customer of the bank. And that certainly makes it easier to vet out and avoid PPP fraud because you have known customers. You have relationships with them. Situations like this wouldn't occur, with that type of information behind it. I need this guy's social security number, Delaney, so I can make sure I don't have to deal with it. But no, I'm just teasing. I think many institutions did in the first round. Some did in the second round. Choose only to work with existing bank customers. And, again, it's easier to avoid this type of fraud when you work with your existing customer base.
Yeah, I mean, Monday morning quarterbacking is very easy, but the first question is,
But it's just like,
yeah.
Well, it's just like 2021 PPP, Bob and Delaney. The president wanted and the SBA administrator wanted more underserved markets addressed in the 2021 lending. Well, if you're only serving existing customers, you're not going to serve underserved markets in most cases. So that caused institutions to reach out a little further, to utilize referral sources. And while the PPP fraud is not as big and dramatic and fun to talk about, there's plenty of PPP fraud in the 2021 stuff.
Well, I like what Mr. Sharma did. Mr. Sharma said, why stop at one? How many loans did he apply for and how many did he get approved, Delaney?
Well, this one is pretty significant. He applied for 16 PPP loans. It was around $9.6 million. He got $2 million. So actually, he was originally a founder, president, and CEO for a company. He ended up being fired by his board of directors, but in May 2020, which is something this man and then our previous man has in common, they both acquired or created these businesses in May 2020. So after, PPP and the pandemic already started. So he said he had about 30 employees, once again, fake documents, all the works. This one, I do know what he spent his money on, though. Debts, landscaping, a pool.
Pool.
I need a pool.
How do you recover a pool, Lance? What do you do? Can you take the house? Can you take the house?
There's not much of a way. It's just like putting a pool in your backyard. If your house is worth $500,000 before you build the pool, as soon as you finish spending $100,000 putting the pool in, your house will still be worth $500,000. So a pool does not have much value, Bob, and I do not see myself as a PPP servicer seizing a pool at this moment.
Well, if you're in Southern California, that water could be valuable. So.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't think about that.
Well, very good. Thank you very much for those. Again, we want to look at themes. Themes are someone, and this is a theme, a long-time employee, the bank manager, just because there's stories of 16, 20-year employees that do this again, and they don't do it once. Oh, that was easy. It's repeated. And also the smartest guy in the room, gal in the room syndrome. I'm smarter than everyone else, and I know how to pull this off. And Delaney, you witnessed that firsthand when he went to Indianapolis. Go ahead, Lance.
Well, one thing I was going to say, Bob, when you look at some of these people who commit fraud, not just in PPP, but bank fraud, 7A loan fraud, you look at their age, Bob, some of them are very young professionals with a ton of earning capacity in front of them. Well, once they get convicted of financial crime like this, their earnings potential is gone.
By the way, I heard of a new red flag, which I have not written about before, but in the karaoke case, BankServe had a great role model. Whenever they went to visit a bank or SBA, whatever, they always bring nice little trinkets, food and things. And again, that doesn't mean that's bad. It's just a red flag, but they were above and beyond being nice. And this person was talking to me and said that's it was unusual because no one else had done that to that extent. And while at the time they thought the gesture was nice, in retrospect, it was what's going on here, Lance?
Well, that same person, Bob, was saying, man, that was a great lunch. No. Yeah, I think you always have to ask questions. And, at the end of the day, all we have is our professionalism and integrity. Yeah. And, when I see some of these young people committing fraud like this, as a person who's been in a professional position for 40 plus years, Bob, I'm asking myself, why? Just think about what if they earn $50,000 a year, 40 years?
It's $2 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
You're going to have to do something. Delaney, good reporting. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. I know we'll get your schedule worked out and get you on a normal schedule. And we're going to do this SBIC webinar in a couple weeks. And we're going to come out with a new slate of webinars in September on, of course, Lance's favorite topics, not PPP, but servicing. Yeah, he's already said, no more PPP. I'm done with PPP.
Well, Bob, I think we, and I would like to hear from the people on the call today. Do we need to have another PPP servicing program and have a significant Q&A session at the end, kind of a lessons learned program where we can just talk about some of the things that are occurring in PPP servicing? And if you don't think we need it, let us know. But if you do think, if you would sign up for that, let us know, because I feel like, we can talk about PPP servicing, but the lessons I'm learning on a daily basis about it, Bob, are probably more valuable than some of the IFRs that I've seen, if that makes sense.
It's real simple. Bob at ColemanReport.com and Lance at ColemanReport.com. Really simple. Delaney, thank you very much. Lance, have a nice weekend. And thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a good weekend.